Hi friends, Cole here in Guatemala. Thanks for joining me. And today I just wanted to do a tutorial on downward facing dog. So we'll get a little nerdy here. I've had some people ask for this. You know, downward facing dog is such an important pose and we use it a lot. It's a resting pose, believe it or not. It's a transitional pose, and it's also a full body stretch. So there's lots of things going on here, but it's normally going pretty quick in a sequence, so we don't have a lot of time to break it down. So we'll take a step back and then zoom back in, yeah? So we're gonna begin with the architecture, so our hands and our feet. So let's actually start in a child's pose. Let's set the hips back to the heels. Bring the arms long. So we can just look at the hands, spread the fingers wide, place them down. Bring the forehead down. Take a moment here, just tapping in with the breath. Find that place in between the shoulder blades. So I've called it before where your blowhole would be, were you to have one, were you a marsupial, or a porpoise, I guess. Now I'm thinking about what is a marsupial. Definitely not a marsupial, a porpoise. Right in between, back of the heart, between the shoulder blades. So find that place and breathe into that space. And imagine you can breathe it a little bit bigger. Yeah. So we can close the shoulder blades together, like you're going to kiss them, and you can also breathe them wide. So let's feel the difference there. Roll up into tabletop position, and we'll take a moment. If you drop the heart down, so we're not really looking for cow pose, but you drop the heart down, you can feel how the shoulder blades come together on the back. Push the ground away, you can feel how they separate. Yeah? So whenever you bring them together, this is a retraction. Whenever you separate them, this is a protraction. So we'll use this a little bit whenever we come back. So gaze down at the fingers, press them down into the earth. One thing I'll say real quick. This space in the middle, we want to suck up here a little bit. So you can think of like a gecko palm, really pressing down through the periphery and even lifting up slightly right in the center of the palm. Another visualization you can do here is imagine like you had a ladybug that was living underneath your hands and you're trying to give it space to breathe. You can also visualize that. So it's called Hasta Bandha, that little lift right in the middle. Tuck your toes. Begin to push the ground away, push through the fingers and the knuckles, and send the hips up and back. Bend your knees. Beautiful. So we're just feeling a long line of energy from the wrists up through the shoulders. So we'll start here with the hands. This is where we began. You're pushing down. From the wrist to the elbow, you're going to have a slight internal rotation. So you can even push a little farther down into the thumb pads, as if you were going to have a slight spiral on your forearms. On your triceps, which are right here, you're going to have a slight external rotation. You can also think about that protraction on the back. Remember the shoulder blades coming apart? Beautiful. Go ahead and take the knees down. We'll be here a lot, so come down. So what this looks like, you can even take your right hand and bring it onto your left arm. So the forearm, you're going to have a slight internal rotation. On the upper arm, a slight external rotation. So they're opposing forces. You can take your hands out as well, like this. Here's another way we can do it. Imagine you're rolling in a little bit. You can even think about dialing the fingers in. So we're not actually moving the hands, but energetically moving the hands. And then watch the shoulders here. I'm going to externally rotate there. So my neck even gets a little bit longer. Try that. It's very, very subtle. We'll try that again in downward dog and double D. Tuck the toes. Push into the fingers and the knuckles. Lift up slightly in the middle of the palm as you push back. See what it feels like to energetically dial the hands in. Slight internal rotation on the forearms and a slight external rotation on the upper arm, so you can feel the scapula spread just slightly. Especially if you're really flexible, this will help because we tend to dump into the flexibility. So we don't want this, we want it to be engaged. Whenever you protract, it engages the serratus. So you want to be engaged here. So we'll keep going down. We're going to pull the belly in and knit the low ribs together. That's another cue that if you're really flexible, that the ribs will splay out. So pull them in, engage the core. And exhale, come down. So often we have a lot of strength or a lot of flexibility. We're wanting to kind of find and meet there in the middle. Sometimes we don't have both, or sometimes we don't have either. So, but we're wanting to find balance regardless, yeah? So if we're really flexible, we're like this. So we want to engage the core, knit the low ribs together. You can also think about bringing the pubic bone as if you were going to curl the pubic bone towards the belly. This will help to engage the low core, yeah? Okay, visualize down. Excuse me. Visualize down into the pelvis. The pelvis is a bowl. You can anterior tilt, pour water out the front of the bowl. You can posterior tilt, pouring water out the back of the bowl. Yeah, so sometimes that's a good way to remember. So we're going to have a slight anterior tilt here. Let's try. So start with the hands. Here you can dial the hands in, find that internal rotation of the forearms. Tuck the toes, press back. Slight protraction in the upper body, in the upper back. Bend the knees and then anterior tilt the pelvis just slightly, like you're going to pour water out the front of the bowl. This might make you arch your back and splay the ribs. So at the same time as you do that, you pour water out the front of the bowl, engage the core, knit the ribs. So this keeps it engaged. Now maybe you straighten the legs. They don't need to go locked, definitely not locked, but they just go that direction. You can think about weighting, putting weight into the heels, letting them be heavy. They don't have to go down to the ground. They're just going that direction. And let's come back down. Lots of little cues, yeah? Downward dog is something that changes all the time, and it seems like with time, it gets more and more complex. So maybe some of these cues that I'm giving you, they don't even make sense. They don't even resonate. And they may, later down the line, or maybe not. So I'm speaking out of my body, do know that. And just know that this pose gets more complex as it goes on and as your body changes as well. So hopefully some of these cues will land and you'll be able to feel them. And then sometimes they won't. So just a little caveat there. Let's go up one more time. Plant the hands, press down through the fingers and the knuckles, lift up slightly in the middle of the palms. You can dial the hands in, slight internal rotation of the forearms, slight external rotation of the upper arms, and here you can even feel the shoulders moving away from the ears. It's like the neck gets a little longer, like turtle. Tuck the toes. Push the hips up and back. Now, if you're really flexible and the belly's coming really low, protract the scapula more, engage the core, knit the ribs. Bend the knees slightly. Interior tilt of the pelvis. So the sit bones go up and back, and water pours out the front of the bowl. And then weight the heels down. The head is relaxed, gazing in between the heels. And if you can see your heels, they also the feet also dial in just slightly. So you can send the heels out just a little bit and pull up on the quads. So lift the kneecaps. So this should be a fully engaged, pretty tiring downward dog. One more inhale here. And exhale, bring the knees down and take a seat back. I hope that some of those cues, you could feel some of those in the body. And just keep working with it. Downward dog is always going to be changing for you. You'll always find a little bit new kind of aha moments. And like I said, as your body changes as well. But I hope that you found some benefit here. And that's all I have for you today. Head over to my website if you want to know where I'll be and what I'll be doing. I'm always up to something pretty fun all over the world. So I would love to practice with you live. And until then, I will see you right here on your mat every week. Ciao.